With that, Mr. Dearie, you can begin, and you have 5 minutes, and we look forward to your testimony.
Chairman Berry, Ranking Member Heinrich, and members of the committee, thank you very much for the invitation to testify today. Your focus on tax reform and entrepreneurship hits the bullseye of what, in my view, is the nation's foremost domestic policy challenge, and that is accelerating economic growth. As members of the committee are no doubt aware, the U.S. economy has been mired in a rut of subpar performance for more than a decade. After expanding at an average annual rate of about 3.4% for most of the post-World War II era, the economy has not grown at 3% or better since 2005. That's for almost 13 years now, and has averaged only 2.2% since the end of the Great Recession more than 8 years ago. Weak economic growth means less opportunity, diminished job creation, lower wages, increased economic anxiety, and greater dependence on government assistance. To meaningfully address these challenges and the anger, cynicism, and populism they inspire, we must accelerate economic growth back to the historical average and on a sustained basis. Economic growth comes principally from gains in productivity driven by innovation, which comes disproportionately from new businesses or startups. Nearly all of the major innovations that have defined the economic landscape over the past 150 years, the railroad, the telegraph and telephone, the automobile, electrification, the airplane, air conditioning and refrigeration, the computer, countless applications of the internet, and wireless communications all came from entrepreneurs. Moreover, recent research has shown that startups also account for virtually all net new job creation. And yet, as you pointed out in your opening statement, Chairman, American entrepreneurship is in trouble. From 2000 to 2006, the economy produced an average of 510 new firms each year. Since 2009, however, the number of new businesses launched annually has dropped to about 400,000, meaning that the United States currently faces a startup deficit of almost 100,000 new firms each year. Even more alarming, as economists Bob Lighton and Ian Hathaway have shown, the number of new firms as a percentage of all firms has fallen near a 30-year low, and this decline is occurring in all 50 states, in all but a handful of 360 cities they examined, and across a broad range of industry sectors, including high technology. Given the critical role that startups play as the principal source of innovation, gains in productivity, economic growth, and job creation, such circumstances amount to nothing short of a national emergency. Addressing that emergency by reversing the 3-decade decline in American entrepreneurship requires changes in public policy, which brings us to tax reform. The current tax code presents a number of challenges for startups, challenges that can amount to the difference between survival and failure. Specifically, the current code penalizes businesses with substantial early years losses, discourages investors from backing new businesses, and impedes successful new companies from expanding. The broad objectives of the Unified Framework for Tax Reform released by the administration and the tax drafting committees are very promising. Simplifying the code, broadening the base by eliminating loopholes, lowering business tax rates, allowing full expensing of business investment, and moving to a territorial system are the keys of a modern and competitive tax code. But as the Unified Framework itself states, it is only a template for the tax drafting committees. The essence of tax reform is the details, and we eagerly await specifics. Our hope is that reform will address a number of tax-related obstacles to entrepreneurship, including allowing startups to defer their income tax liability in order to conserve critical cash flow in the early years, allowing startups to carry forward net operating losses and R&D tax credits, expanding the application of R&D tax credits to startups' payroll taxes, and simplifying and expanding the favorable tax treatment of investment in new startups. So, Mr. Chairman, economic growth comes from gains in productivity, driven by innovation, which comes disproportionately from startups. Revitalizing American entrepreneurship, therefore, is the essential pathway to faster economic growth and the opportunity, jobs, and wage growth the American people need and deserve. Tax reform that includes a special focus on the unique tax-related vulnerabilities of startups is a critical part of America's pro-growth agenda. Thank you again for the invitation to participate.